All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I don't know how many of us are as excited as I am for day two. If you attended day one, I'm sure you already know that you are in for another amazing knowledge and power-packed session with our guest speaker and our host, Dr. Kende Wanim. Without wasting or without taking more time, I'd just like to hand over the mic to our amiable host, Dr. Kende Wani. Thank you so much, Ma, for putting this together. 2025 is already off to a very good start if you are attending the virtual business summit. Okay. All right. Over to you, Dr. Wani.
Okay. Good morning, afternoon, evening. I know I should say good day, but I like to say good morning, afternoon, and evening. How are you all doing? First of all, I want to be sure Mrs. Akinkugbe is around, is she? Before, I just want to be sure. Princess, can you please check and be sure
Yes, Ma,
she's...
she's here.
Oh, she is. Okay. So good morning once again, everybody. Good morning. DDH, good morning. Where are my people? Good morning. Hey, Aduke is here. Oh, oh, yeah. Thank you. Oh, welcome, Mrs. Kalechaye. Mrs. Ajeshino. All my people are here. It's amazing. Just awesome to have you here. We're about to start. How was yesterday? Can you just put in the chat? How did you find yesterday's session? Anybody? Hey, Kofo is there. How did you find yesterday? Let me see in the chat. Yeah, mind-blowing, eye-opening. Yeah, go on. Let me say, awesomely inspiring, informative, extremely informative. I missed yesterday. You did? Reassuring. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Thought-provoking. That is why we do this. Honestly, myself and all my guests all through this week, they are people who have accomplished a lot in their own industry. And they're just happy and willing to share with everybody. Some to share with those who are starting, those who are already running their businesses. You know, we just keep learning. I'm a learner. And if we just love to learn, no matter what stage we are in our businesses, you still want to just know, okay, so what's, when we talk about, even when I mentor people, I talk to them about peer mentoring, because at times you also need to just talk to other people in your space, doing what you're doing, on the level that you are, higher or less. So it's just beautiful to be able to listen to other people's stories. We're going to be, it's more of storytelling as we did yesterday. We will be asking her questions, but she's going to just speak from her heart. And you would find out that she's going to start from when the idea came, ideation, all the way to succession planning. So I'm sure there's something in this for everybody. But before we start, right, let's see. Mrs. Akinkugbe, she's the founder of SecureID. So they're into making smart cards and things like that. Most of us, the ATM cards we have, I'm sure you might not know, but those cards were made by SecureID. A lot of us, we probably don't know that. So let me ask you some questions, just some quick fire questions. Which do you prefer? Debit card, credit card, or checks? Put in the chat. Debit card, credit card, or check? Which do you prefer? Which debit cards? Okay, credit cards. Debit card, please. Debit cards. I'm sure when you're receiving money from people, you're like, please, where's your debit card? Checks. I remember in church the other day, I was still using my checks, and a friend of mine said, Kenny, you're still using checks. Debit cards, credit cards. Lovely. Okay. Let me ask you, if you were to buy groceries at a supermarket, what would you use? A check, cash, or your card? What do you tend to use for such purchases? Debit cards. Card, you usually use your card. Yeah. You would use, okay, when you're booking a flight online, what do you use? Online transactions. You want to book a flight. Because some of us were still very much into it's just cash. So card, card. If you wanted to pay your rent, yeah, if you have rented an apartment or or buy a car or something, transfer. Yeah, yeah, good. Okay, so when you think of the word smart card, what comes to your mind? Smart card. What comes to your mind? Are you think what once you just think smart cards, what comes to your mind? ATM. What else comes to mind? Convenience, Eledu, yeah. POS, transfer, contactless, connectivity. Yeah. You think of something. Why are we now using comfort, security, cashless, fraud protection most of the time, speed, essay, life made easy. That's what our awesome Mrs. Akinkugbe, that's what she's trying to ensure that we have access to in Nigeria. So, before I introduce you, I'm just going to ask you a few fire questions too, because I know you and I are very serious people. So I'm going to ask you a few things. And audience, feel free to answer. Just some quick questions, right? Sweet or savory, Kofo? Sweet or savory? Which one would you?
Sweet.
You have a sweet tooth.
Sweet.
Okay. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm both.
You
I'm
are
both.
both. Because I know you tell me about, trying to sleep early and all
I
that, but I
try
guess
to.
because of
I
your
try
work,
to.
the nature of your
Mhm.
work, right? Okay, I won't put you on the spot, but just one last one. Personal chef or a personal assistant?
Oops. Well, I think personal assistant because I actually
Hmm.
like cooking. So
Okay,
I like
good.
cooking. So I could
Are we
out
listening?
out
Oh,
chef.
you like cooking. That's good. Okay,
Yeah.
one more, just one more. So, how would
Hmm.
you define success? Go for in one sentence.
Um, I think it's impact values that outlive you.
Mm,
That's what I
mm,
would say. So impact
mm,
values that
mm.
outlive you. So
Leave you.
yeah.
Impact
So
and
those
values
three
that
phrases.
outlive you. I love that. I love that. So I'm so excited to have you here today, Kofo.
Yeah.
Mrs. Akinkugbe. I
Just
keep
for me.
calling Kofo Kofo. We used to call you Kofs. I remember
Yeah,
the
feel
days
free.
of the bank. Was it Akadeshala? Where was your bank then? The bank where you were working before you went into
I,
entrepreneurship?
yeah, I worked
The
in
last,
different branches, but I remember you
the
you came
coming
to
over,
Adetukumba
you know.
Ademola. Yes, yes.
And we were there, and it's just amazing. It's amazing what the Lord is using you for. So Mrs. Kofo Akinkugbe is the founder and CEO of SecureID. SecureID Group, technology. She's pioneer. She's a pioneer in technology, in the technology of using smart cards and fintech security, in Nigeria, and as a female as well. So, but we have her bio. We're going to put it. In fact, it's right there in the chat already. Honestly, I don't like if I was going to read about Kofo, I would spend maybe like 15, 20 minutes. So I don't want to take out of that time. So her bio is in the chat. Please feel free, click on it and just read more about her. And I know that you also have the national honor. I believe you have the title of OON. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, Kofo. So basically, we just want to know. We want to know about your journey. You know, a lot of us, when you started, uh, we know how far the Lord has brought you. And we just want you to share with us. A lot of people here on this platform are entrepreneurs. Yesterday, I kind of asked, and we kind of have a mixed multitude. So you have quite a number of entrepreneurs. You find some people who are doing both. They're having maybe they have their side hustle or they're doing something on the side, but they're also employed. And then you have some who are career professionals. Sorry, there's something in my eye. So it's a mixed multitude. So we'd like you to speak to a lot of people who are thinking, okay, how do I progress? Something in my eye. Sorry. How do I progress? How do I transition maybe from being an employee to an employer? Some of us have our businesses. How do I expand? So we just want to hear from you and just learn from how you have been able to achieve what you've been able to. So over to you. Just tell us about your story. I will ask you questions from time to time, and towards the end, the audience will also ask questions. Thank you. Over to you, Kofo.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you've been able to bring what's in out of what's in your eye. Okay.
Thank you.
So thank
I
you.
think I'm fine.
Good early evening, good afternoon,
Good afternoon.
everyone. And I'm honored to be having this conversation with a long-term friend, Dr. Kende Oani. Thank you very much for inviting me to this very impactful virtual business summit. And I thank God for everything you're doing, for the impact you're making on our young people and even contemporaries as well. And I pray that the Lord will continue to enlarge your vision. I know you're a serial entrepreneur. You're doing so many other things. So you're not just creating this platform, but you've also had your hands in it. So, I mean, look at Meadow Hall Group and what you've done with it and so on. So thank you. Thank you very much for what you're doing. It's an honor to share my story, even though the story is still ongoing, the journey is still ongoing. And I'm willing to learn from even people on this group as well. So my name is Kofo Akinkugbe, and let me just say, a graduate of mathematics and started maths, did an MBA, started my career in banking, did about 12 years in banking, and obviously the thing that women do, they get married, they start having children, and I think by the time I had my second child, I had a flourishing career in banking, flourishing. It was really, really good, but I really thank God for that foundation, because I think that's what has helped me and propelled me into what I'm about to share. So I left banking. I wouldn't ask anybody to do that, but actually not having a plan. Why I left banking was I wanted to spend more time with my children. And Dr. Kenny asked me, how do I define success? Success is all encompassing. Is not enough to be successful in your career, but success in every role. Successful as a wife, successful as a mother, successful as a friend. So success is all encompassing. There's no point being successful on one side and not. And so I felt a bit of imbalance with my career and trying to balance the home. And my children were very young at the time, maybe 2, 1, a baby. And I thought, I wanted to spend more time with them, do the school runs like other people and so on. But I knew I still wanted to work because I knew that I had it in me to make impact. So whilst I was home with the children, I wouldn't go through all of that, but I was also networking and still in touch with my network community. I was hoping that I would get another job that would give me much time, but as well as challenge me. I mean, as a graduate in mathematics, you definitely like to be challenged mentally. I in one of my conversations with some of the people in my network, an idea came up called biometric technology. To be honest, I didn't plan to be an entrepreneur. I thought I was doing banking so well, and I thought one day I would become the ED or MD of a bank. So it was a bit surprising, when that idea of biometric technologies dropped. And I took it up and I said, oh, actually, biometric technology is a means of identifying yourself, but using your facial recognition, your fingerprint, and so on. And I thought, oh, at the time, this was about almost 30 years ago. And I thought at the time that maybe this is something I could take up, for access control, for several other things, for time and attendance, for factories, rather than use a keypad or a card to clock in and clock out. If you use your biometric, nobody can impersonate you. So it was all about security management systems. It was obviously an engineering company. So I thought, okay, I'll do it. And I thought, oh, fantastic. I'm doing something interesting. I'll have more time for the children. But that wasn't true. Because I started it up from the guest room in our home at the time. I had one engineer. I did my first job where we had to lay cables. I did it with an engineer. I was climbing ladders and so on. And we did the first fingerprint access control and did it very well. And little did I know that MDs of banks are going to be walking into that particular office, and every time they come in, they ask the office, who did this, who did that? And then I started getting loads of referrals. And that was my first company. And it grew from 1 engineer to 40 engineers, obviously not at my place. I had to get an office, And I still thought, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, I will have more time, but it then became more and more difficult to balance, my vision and so on, and being with the children. But to cut the long story short, 9 years after running Interface, my first company, I again fell into a problem, in the sense that I saw a gap in the payment industry. And because the first company had institutionalized itself, I got recognized, at the time, and I was told to join a committee to look at Nigeria on how to move Nigeria from a cash-based economy to an electronic payment economy. Electronic payment meaning using cards, using mobile phones, using online payments and so on, just so that we can have less cash in the system. And so in doing all of that, I saw a gap. I saw a gap in the system. I saw that, yes, we were doing some, we had a few cards in the system for payments, but those cards were based on old technology. They were based on magnetic stripe technology. So that was the first gap. The second gap I saw was that when people apply for payment cards, it could take as long as 3 to 6 months because those cards were done abroad. So that was the second gap. And then the third gap is that there was no local production and obviously no global standards, And the next gap I saw was that the fraud level was extremely high. The banks were having to put a lot of money aside for insurance, because then that was when 419 was very, very at its height. Because with magnetic stripe technology, you can easily defraud, you can easily, perform a fraud on payment cards. So in seeing those problems is what inspired me to build the next company, which I'm going to spend more time on, called SecureID. And by the way, my first company is 30 years, is still running. After 9 years, I gave it over to a woman, and she's been running it ever since then. Now, so the second company is SecureID. So those were the gaps I saw. And I said, okay, what do we do with these gaps? And I got inspired to do something about it. And I said, why don't we build a local plant with global standards? That's one. Two, why are we using mark stripe technology when the rest of the world has moved to chip and pin? That's three. Why don't we build a plant that meets global standards, therefore things like fraud, because the security level, so global standards, getting global certifications that sorts out that fraud level, so it's highly secure and quality and so on. So I had a dream, and the dream was to build a world-class plant in Nigeria for Africa and by Nigerians. And so you have a dream. What do you then do with a dream? Because everybody dreams. But not everybody is able to move that dream to a vision.
Absolutely.
So we move the dream to the vision. Okay, so it now becomes a vision. How do you then execute? And then you come up with the strategies, the business plan, and so on and so forth. Okay, what does it entail? Capital intensive, then you have to sort of look at it and say to yourself, how do you get about it? And then you solve all those problems. And then you say, look, I can't do this on my own. How do I get people to see what I am seeing? Okay. And that's when people alignment come into play. So I have the vision, I can see the North Star, but how do I get other people to see that star? So there are the issues of alignment of people, and then execution, and then it goes. And then you ask yourself certain questions. What do you want to do? Oh, I want to build a world-class end-to-end smart card manufacturing plant. Then you ask yourself, why? Is it just for profit? And then I said to myself, actually, no, I want impact. I want a legacy. I want to pioneer this. And that's what drove me into starting this. So that's the why. So I've talked about the what, the why. And then how do you want to do it? What strategies are you going to put in place? What's the investment plan? Are you going to put, how do you balance your debt and equity? Is it going to be more equity, more debt, or how do you balance it? And then you ask yourself, when? And my answer to that was now. And so I brought the idea, with the grace of God, in 2005. This year we're 20 years. And the when was, this is the North Star. This is where we want to end. However, we're going to go into it stage by stage. And that was our approach. And where? It's an African dream. So where do you want to do it? Okay, I want to start with the market I know, because it's, that's Nigeria, because it's low-hanging fruit. You know your market, you know the clients. Okay, who am I targeting? The banking. At the time, it was payments, so it was the banking. And so you then have that dream, and so on. Of course, there'll be challenges, there'll be obstacles. And then you say, where do I even start from? Okay. One, for my case, there was no one to benchmark. I looked around and there was no company to benchmark. I looked in sub-Sahara Africa. There was no company to benchmark. So I had no choice but to benchmark against the #1 in the world, who was they were in Europe. And obviously, what that tells you is that birthing an idea and seeing it to execution requires a lot of resilience. It requires a lot of, I won't give up, because the truth of the matter is, when I tell anyone, even the people that were selling the machines were saying, are you crazy? You can't do this here. You can't do it. So one is obstacle number one, no one to benchmark. It's always nice to have a first to, sometimes it's nice to be the second, because you can watch the first and the mistakes they've made, as opposed to you being the first. So none to benchmark. Obstacle number two, no skills. So there were no local skills. Obstacle number three, it needed high capital outlay. How do I convince my stakeholders that, as a woman, I'm going to do this big project and is going to see to it? Then other obstacles, we know what Nigeria is like. It does not encourage manufacturing. The infrastructure is low, the power, the water, the supply chain issues, and so many issues. And then last obstacle is the standards. Do we have the culture to go by, those global best standards? How do I convince the banks to buy from us, being a made in Nigeria product, And so these were all the complexities that, that one had to deal with. And obviously, to God be the glory, I overcame in setting, in setting it up. Now, one thing that I had no doubt in my mind was that it's going to be adding value. And that's why it's important to ask, why are you doing what you're doing? Very, very important to ask from the beginning. What do you want to attain? What is it that you want to do? So I knew that for me, it was legacy. For me, it was impact. For me, it would be doing the banks a lot of good. Then I had to think of sustainability. How do I ensure that this business outlives me? I'm not only in the manufacturing, I'm also in technology, And so how do I ensure it outlives me? How do I ensure? Because you see, a lot of businesses in Nigeria, usually, I'm sorry to say this, but they die with the founder.
Absolutely.
Because the foundations are not put in place to absorb those shocks that will come in many years' time. If I ask all of you, do you have a bank card? You will all say yes. Do you have a SIM card in your phone? Oh, yes, you have a SIM card. Do you have a driver's license? Do you have a passport? Yes, you do have all those. But in so many years' time, if I say, do you have bank cards? Some of you may say, what is that? So I knew that I would be dealing with disruptions, okay? And so it was important that your idea is scalable. It is something that you can diversify in different areas. So I started with saying, I saw this gap in payment, I want to do it. After getting it to a stage, oh, I see the gap in telecoms. They import all their SIM cards. I want to do it. What is the impact? You're going to be saving the country foreign exchange. They don't need to import cards. You can get people in, you train people, you have a lot of young, skilled people. And guess what again? You're not just building your company, you're building an ecosystem, an industry. So a lot of my suppliers would, I would have local suppliers. So instead of bringing in my raw materials, people would think of setting up something to supply me with the materials I need. So yeah, the impact you're making is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. So long-term commitment, patience, obviously, patient for growth, and the resilience, the fearlessness, the, training, and so on and so forth. So that was SecureID. But I knew that I wanted to build a world-class, but I wasn't going to start that from day one. Okay, so I started stage by stage.
Beautiful.
And when I start the first phase, oh, this has done very well. Then I backward integrate. Then I start another stage. Oh, this is doing well. Then I backward integrate. And that's the way that I manage the growth. Okay. Because one thing I want to say to entrepreneurs, the skills that is needed for starting up is different from the skills that you need for scaling and growing. You need a higher level of resilience to sustain that success and sustain the business. The other bit is when I started, even though as a pioneer, I knew that competition will come. Because I will tell you this, Nigeria was more on magstripe technology, and I decided to start a card business based on chip and pin, which is higher than magstripe. So what it means is that my capital outlay was probably 1 million times higher than the players that were already there doing magnetic stripe, even though they were not doing it locally, but they were importing them. So risk assessments. Why would I start a business with higher capital outlay than the players that were there? So of course, the first year I made a loss. Patience. Did I give up? No, because I know that one day Nigeria will migrate from magstripe to chip and pin. Magstripe, the fraud level was too high. And so I continue to put in newsletters talking about quality, talking about security, talking about fraud, cyber security, and so on and so forth. The second year, I made a lesser loss. By the third year, without my knowing, the central bank mandated all the banks to move from magnetic stripe technology on cards to chip and pin. And who was the only company there that had made the investment and taken the risk? It was us. So all the banks kept coming to us, because not only that, so they kept coming, and then you found yourself dominating the entire market. But you don't stop there. You say to yourself, competition will come. Not only competition, disruption will come. Okay? Somebody else is going to say, how can I do what she's doing even better? Okay? So we weren't satisfied with that level. We said to ourselves, let's keep backward integrating as competition is coming, so that we're steps ahead of competition. So by the time the first and few competitors came, we had already moved ahead. Okay, so we could not only make bank cards, we could now make them locally, end to end. We could also do SIM cards for the telecoms industry. Okay, now with the telecoms, they said to me, no way, you cannot do SIM cards locally. First of all, the technology, you can't meet it. We don't even have what it takes to do it here locally. So what did we do? In getting them to believe that this could happen was we applied for global certifications. Now, all over the world, there are about 300 or just less than 300 smart card plants in the world. And each of them have the same sort of certifications. So what do? Even though your market does not require those certifications, you have them because you want to make them feel comfortable and have confidence in your product. The other thing is that right from the beginning, the vision was not to serve Nigeria, but it was to serve Africa. And for another African country to believe in you, you must have these global certifications that any other company anywhere in the world would have. And so we went for all the certifications that you can think of, and certifications, let me tell you what it means. Your plant is certified by international bodies. So MasterCard, Visa, CQM, all sorts of ISOs, GSMA, different certifications. What does it mean? They come to the plant, they audit you on a yearly basis, We go through probably over 10 audits in a year, and they audit you for security. They audit you for your logical security. Can I hack into your system? Can I, what happens? The processes that you go through, and so on and so forth. It was complicated, I must say. But we went ahead with the resilience and the hard work and just letting the world know that Nigeria can produce such a plant, which I hope I'm encouraging other people, whatever you do, you can do it and you can do it well. And so that took us from Nigeria to serving additional 21 countries across Africa.
Wow.
That took us from starting with one staff to having about 500 or slightly over 500 staff. So these were all what we went through. But then you built all of this. What then? What next? What happens? So I don't know, should I play the short video or should I leave it?
Please, you can play it. I think
Okay.
it'll be nice. Please go ahead and play it.
I turn off my video. Okay. It's just going to be,
Mr. Akinkugbe, no volume. I am muted.
There's no sound, Kofo.
Documents for there's no sound.
Okay, now it's that now because you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Cards, that's fine.
Just cards and welcome to SecureID Limited. Our services cut across manufacturing and technology. Our facility, located in Lagos, Nigeria, is the first internationally certified smart card manufacturing plant in sub-Saharan Africa. We are industry leaders in manufacturing and personalization of credit cards and debit cards for all banks in Nigeria and banks in 21 countries across Africa. SecureID also manufactures SIM cards for the telecom sector, loyalty cards for retail sector, and security documents for the public sector, which includes driving license, national identity cards, voters cards, and more. SecureID Limited is certified by Visa International, MasterCard Incorporated, Verve, Card Quality Management CQM, ISO, GSMA, and is a member of ICMA, GH-Link for Ghana, GIMAC for CEMAC countries, and OSPT, a leading global transportation group. This video will take you through our smart card manufacturing process and activities of our subsidiaries. Graphic design. The manufacturing process. Pre-press. It starts with the layout and all the metrics required from start to end of the entire production process. Using raster image processed files, we break down designs into high-quality sections at 8,000 dpi to Visa, Verve, and MasterCard printing quality in 4 types of application: wet offset plate, waterless plate, dry offset plate, and film plates. In the press, our printing machines are majorly used for security offset printing with capacity to accommodate various kinds of plates simultaneously, like the wet offset plate, waterless plate, and dry offset plate. A print sheet contains 48 cards, and the machine can print up to 7,000 sheets per minute, which is 336,000 cards each hour, using rainbow printing, simulation, and intaglio printing to constantly provide high quality and secured cards. Collation and lamination. Smart cards have different layers, including a layer for the antenna of contactless cards. The printed sheets from the press are then welded together to form a sandwich at collation and moved to lamination, where it runs through a process from hot press to cold press and finally gets compressed into one sheet. Punching. The laminated cards now need to be separated to individual cards. At Punching, our state-of-the-art machinery with fully automatic sensors cuts the card from the sheets. Physical audit is also carried out to detect for errors or cards with defects, which are then removed from the batch. This is to ensure only good quality cards are delivered every time. Hot stamping. All foil parts, signature, panel, and hologram are transferred onto the cards. Smart cards manufactured in Nigeria by Nigerians for Nigerians. The SecureID Group has technology divisions in SID Digital and Transport Payment Solutions. SID Digital offers innovative end-to-end digital payment platforms like digital cards, customer loyalty solution, mobile NFC and tokenization, digital identity, and e-fare collection systems and services, including smart city solutions. TPS offers automated fare collection systems for various forms of transportation, railway, bus, and water transport. Services like online ticketing via web and mobile, seat reservation, in-station ticketing via cash, POS, or ticket vending machines, TVM, are all available to make commuting easy and convenient for all Nigerians. At SecureID Group, our vision is to be Africa's undisputed leading provider of world-class digital solutions best suited for emerging markets.
Okay, so basically
on a mutual benefiting journey today to support growth of your business here in Nigeria by a trusted Nigerian.
Kofo, before you go on, I just want in the chat, can I just see the claps and the flowers and I've been reading everything. People are like, this is amazing. And it's a Nigerian company owned, I don't like to play the female card at all, but owned by a woman. Kofo, this is just awesome. I'm so proud of you. A lot of people are saying that. I'm so proud of you. We're so proud of you as a Nigerian woman. We're so proud of you. Before you go on, please, I just want us in the chat, I want you to just reflect quickly. She said a lot. What stands out for you right now? Just put in the chat. What have you learned today? Yesterday, I'll go over what we learned yesterday as well. But what are you taking away today so far? She still has a bit more to tell us. What are you taking away? Yes, I know we're proud of her. Now, resilience. Beautiful. Beautiful resilience. Risk taker. She's very inspiring. Yeah. Beautiful resilience. Critical eye. Follow your dreams. She's bold, boldness, patriotism. I love that. I love that. Solution provider, visionary, courage, determination. Her courage is out of this world. She's fast, innovative, beautiful, world-class. She pushes for excellence, dares to dream, bold and beautiful. I like that. Simply amazing. It
But
is.
same to all of you as well. Same to all of you.
It's amazing. The thought about scaling, backward integration, courage and all that. Awesome. That's lovely. So, Kofo, I don't know if you still want to, maybe you want to round up
About
and then begin to
succession.
ask you some questions.
Yeah. So maybe more on
I'm just checking.
succession.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. And then
Yes,
because
yeah.
I still have quite a number of questions here. And then the audience, in fact, I've read some of the questions. So please go ahead and then we ask you questions.
So basically, obviously, it doesn't come without challenges. And some of the contemporary headwinds, we know what they are. There's supply chain, there's people costs, because you still import your raw materials, so supply chain, getting forex, escalation in the cost of doing business. We all know what that is. There's disruptions. How do you retain your people? How do you grow your people? So there is all of that to sort of battle with.
Couple with, yeah.
But just talking about succession. I mean, we're 20 years, so obviously there are some next stage. How do you keep this company going with the foundational values that you have? And what legacy do you want to leave behind? I think that's what you start with. And if it's a legacy of integrity, which is what it was for me, my succession planning framework would be to build people on the foundational values that you have. And it starts with hiring, even for hiring right, do they share the same values and so on? Because the people that would eventually succeed you must reflect your values.
Absolutely.
They cannot tick all the boxes, okay? But they should reflect your values. And then you get to a stage where, technical competence is just as important as the soft skills.
Absolutely.
You can be technically competent, but you may not have those soft skills that addresses all the values that you've put in place. And what are your values? Integrity is one. Customer-centric is the other. You want to create, all you're thinking of is value, creating that value, and the money will follow.
Absolutely.
The money will always follow. So you recruit people, you build people on those values, so from hiring the right people to making them managers, and then from managers to making them leaders, depending on the growth cycle of the people. Now, one thing that is for succession plan is that you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. It's not something you can take lightly, because as I said, the energy level for startup is different from the energy level when you have scaled the company. So you've got to look at, the growth cycle of succession. So you hire right, they become managers, you invest in them, you expose them, you empower them, and some of them don't make it to being leaders. Some of them only become managers, and so on. So you've got to really, by God's grace, having a very good HR, work together to identify the people that will go into that pool. You have to have a pool of people that can support.
Absolutely.
Please don't build your succession on one person. Build your succession on at least 2 people or even more. Create competition between them so that they are trying to prove themselves. Empower them, train, have gaps discussion. What do I mean by gaps? So you as the leader and the founder, there's a lot of work for you to do. Always get back to them on the gaps. Oh, you're doing this well, but there seems to be a gap here. What are you going to do about it? And so on. So on your risk assessment on succession planning, as I said, don't build succession planning on one person. That one person, Olonije, could get hit by a truck or could leave, and the way people are leaving the country, you do it. And I'm in the technology space, and I know that we've lost quite a number of people that we've invested in. So what does that tell me? Lesson learned from that is that you must be intentional even when you're hiring entry people.
Absolutely.
At the entry level. So if I need 3 people, hire 4 people at the entry level, because at the entry level, the labor cost is a little bit, is not as high as when you're bringing them in at the top level, you know. So make sure that you have a lot in that pool, you know, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the lessons. Of course, mistakes, of course, a lot. You know, when you're in business as an entrepreneur, you have to be.
I'm going to get to that place of
Okay.
because I really want us to, you know, I
Yeah.
want you to be able to be very specific
Yes.
about that, and I really want everybody to learn from that. So before we go, because yes, honestly, just been an amazing time, very insightful, very inspiring. Before I ask the questions, just for as a quick recap, you mentioned a lot of things. You have talked about, I love the fact that right from the beginning, you mentioned success all round. So success is not just being successful in what you do, it's your family, it's, you know, all the other things. So it's not just, oh yeah, I've achieved all this, but at the end of the day, you let every other thing go. So that talks about the work-life balance, work-life integration. I think that is very, very good. You've mentioned something that Ms. Adekpet also mentioned, emphasized yesterday, which is the ability to identify the gap. As an entrepreneur, I think is one of the major things. And as we said yesterday, most of the time people want to solve problems, but they don't know how to identify problems. When you're an entrepreneur, opportunities will present themselves. Can you see the opportunities? So it is that ability. You said you saw there was old tech, you know, rather than the new one. There was the magnetic stripe tech. Meanwhile, you brought in the chip and the pin. You could see there was a gap. And even when you were going to scale, it was another gap that you identified. So that ability to identify gaps, as an entrepreneur, I find it, you know, I think it's actually one of the marks of an entrepreneur, that ability to see something, and then you add value by meeting that demand, and then you're paid for it. And when you talk, you mentioned, you know, that idea of value, adding value. That is what an entrepreneur does. An entrepreneur doesn't think, I want to make money. You want to make money, all right. But then how do you want to make money? What do you want to do? What is the gap that exists? Why should we, you know, buy into whatever you're doing? Because you're feeling a gap. You talked about the solutions that you brought. You identify the gap, you brought in the solution. You talked about the dreams. From the dreams, you will then carve out your vision. And then you begin to look at execution strategy. I like the fact that you talked about your vision becoming a shared vision. I say to people, when people ask me, what is maybe one of the most difficult things? It is actually my vision becoming not just my vision, becoming a shared vision, one that all the people that work with me have bought into, and we're all running with the same vision. And it is not an easy thing, because people join your company for different reasons. So selling your vision takes time, but it is something that a leader does. And you were also very clear about your why. I think that is so important. Right from the get-go, right from the jump, you were not thinking, oh, I'm going into tech. Who's doing this? I want to make lots of dollars. You're like, you know, what is the impact I want to make, the legacy, you know, that I would like to make. And you looked at your what, your why, your how. I like the fact that you talked about testing. I was saying yesterday, one of the courses I did with Harvard, it was about risk and reward. In between risk and reward, there is a lot of testing and experimentation. We don't just, you know, just go headlong and just try to start anything. I think that it is not wise. In fact, it is foolishness for anybody to think, I want to start something, I just go there. You do not do that. That is not an entrepreneur. They say entrepreneurs are risk takers. We don't take foolish risks, you know? So that testing stage by stage, You talked about obstacles. We always have to overcome huge obstacles. So that is where the resilience, that tenacity, persistence, perseverance, just digging your heels in, and you're not going to give up. Those are, I don't want to miss anything. You talked about scaling. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, you don't remain, visions evolve, don't they? So then you go from one level and then you scale and then you expand. And that is what has brought you to where you are today. You're very bold. Mrs. Adekwetu mentioned it yesterday as well, that she says, just do it, just be bold. And it's that boldness that you've been rewarded. For example, when you were given the national honor, it was because no female had done what you were doing. And you've been able to do a lot of things that will save Nigeria money, stopping the frauds and all that. So boldness is key. Risk assessment, always assessing the risk, even as you're moving into the things and doing them, you're assessing your risk. I like the fact that you mentioned the newsletters that you were, so that's kind of bringing awareness and educating people about, because maybe most people didn't know about it. So you made sure that you're kind of letting people understand what you're doing. Competition, always think competition, think disruption. A lot of us rest on our oars, we're doing well, our businesses are doing well, but then we're then caught napping. But you continue to push the boundaries, you continue to think and be ahead of the pack. Yeah, so wonderful, awesome. You did mention not once, not twice, and I know you, and a lot of people know you. You mentioned not once, not twice, God, the grace of God. I see you, all the people I've invited, myself as well, as apostles in the marketplace. You kept, when you said, the ideas and all that, I put here, who gave you the idea? The Holy Spirit. God gave you the idea, so just how to strategize. You've learned a lot, you've studied, you've trained, but then for you to have mentioned God several times, I always like to put that up there because people look at us sometimes they're like, well, how do you achieve that? I don't think we're, ignorant enough to ever feel that we could have achieved this without your creator. So I just wanted to put that in there. So some of the questions as we begin to round up that I know some people will be asking right now. How do I do this afraid? Because we said you're bold. How did you were having a thriving banking career. I remember that. And then at some point, you just thought, okay, I want to stay with my children. You left your job without even having another one in line. But then at each point in time, each step you've taken, it has required that boldness. How do you do things afraid? Because it's fear of failure that holds a lot of people back. Can you just talk a little bit about that? But I have several questions for you.
Okay, I mean, just it comes from within. Okay, that feeling.
How? Okay.
Obviously we've talked about depending on God, knowing that is not just you. It's some supernatural energy that is working within you. But I think also in addition to that, I remember when I was younger, and because I'm from a family of 9 of us, and my dad was very, very persistent or insistent on academics. So we all used to compete, we want to be the best, we want to be the best. I hated maths. It was so bad that I remember my parents had to cut my hair, that maybe the maths is not getting in. I had such long hair and they cut it, and my dad would be teaching me, but of course there's a cane at the side that this maths, so you must know
you will know it.
I was so scared of maths. One day, I don't know what happened. I just told myself, this maths, I'm going to break you. And God sent me destiny helpers, and I was able to get get round it.
Mm.
I
Mm.
eventually did add maths in secondary school for
Wow.
somebody that was always at the bottom of the class when it came to maths. And then
Mm.
I moved from add maths and I had a choice to do computer science or mathematics. I did both in my first year in university. By the second year, I realized that there were only 3 women in the class for maths. And then
Mm.
the professor looked at me and said, you want to do maths? You know, I'd just come back from England doing my A level, so I guess I wasn't looking like a mathematician. And I said, this person, I'm going to show you that I can do it. You know, so what I'm saying is that early discovery of the resilience in you, that yes, you can.
Yeah.
Okay. And overcoming that fear of maths, I think has propelled me in overcoming every sort of fear. Like you said, Dr. Wani, you said stage by stage. You do one stage, you succeed. It creates some level of confidence.
Absolutely.
And then you do another one, you succeed, your confidence level grows up, you know. So it's to know that doing it afraid is key. One, the why. Why are you doing it? You're adding value. You're actually adding real value. You're making impact.
Yeah.
And you can, and then you have God on your side.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
So
you
please go ahead.
I hope I've answered.
Oh, you did. You did. You know, I can hear growth mindset because you kept saying that, you know, I know I can. You didn't give up, you know, so that having that, you know, I can do spirit means I'm not ruling myself out. And I could also hear family values. Your dad, the way he brought you guys up and that helping you guys to understand that you don't need to give up and competing and just to become better. So that I think I think should help a lot of people because I know that a lot of people ask about that. How do I want to do it, but I can't. How do you take that step? How do you jump off the bridge? How, you know? And
and then having mentors, having the right sort of
also helps.
Having people to benchmark as an example. If this person can do it, I can do it.
Absolutely.
You know, so that really helps. And that's why it's nice to tell your stories to encourage other people that they can do it as well.
You stand on the shoulder of giants. Lovely. So some people here are employees and yes, they want to start their own businesses. How do I start? What do I do?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, you know, you have a dream you want to start, but there's no point just having a dream because everybody dreams. We all dream, you know, but just a few would take that dream to reality, to execute it flawlessly. And it's not enough to have passion, but you must be able to execute flawlessly. Because it's in that execution that we give up because we will face obstacles. Oh, God.
Absolutely.
I mean, what I'm saying to you is not that I didn't face obstacles. I am, and I'm still facing obstacles, you know, but the resilience. Okay, I mean, now, that's why I said I wouldn't say you do what you must have very high faith to just leave and not know what you want to do. And, you know, but if you have ideas and you're working, if you can do both, and of course, there's no conflict of interest, you know, so wise, you must tick that box, you know. The learnings from your workplace, hopefully you're working in a place that is structured, you are putting your best because what you put in for others will put in for you. You know, so putting in your best, you're working very, very hard. You're making impact for the organization. You know, the Lord will help you with yours. So you have a dream, you write your business plan where you look at all the risk, you know, what this happens, what happens? If that happens, what will I do? If this happens, what will I do? You know, for me, when I started, I said, look, I'm going to invest so much in machines. What else can I do apart from bank cards? So I started with a diversification mindset. I'm not just going to do bank cards. I'm going to do SIM cards. From SIM cards, I'm going to do passports. I'm going to do identity cards. I'm going to do driver's license, voters cards, you know. And even from there, I may get disrupted. So I created a company that would disrupt me, and that's SID Digital. And I brought young people there. There are about 30 of them. And I said, everything we do in our core business, disrupt us. I would rather disrupt myself than somebody else disrupt me. So you're always thinking ahead. So now you're in business, you have an idea, please start with that idea. Don't say you want to wait, because if you wait, you know, entrepreneurship, when you're younger, you have more energy. I started my entrepreneurship maybe in my early 30s. I had all the energy. It's different from the energy I have now. So don't wait until you retire. And then you're now looking for start now. Start now. For as long as it doesn't conflict with what you're doing, for as long as it doesn't take the time away from what you're meant to give your current employer, start now. And when you start, go through that process: vision, business plan, strategy, and people alignment, and so on and so forth.
I love that, because what you're saying is it's better not to just leave. Start while you're working, so that you still have that income, you still have something doing, you start something like a side hustle, we call it, on the side. You start strategizing, you start putting together your business plan. So far, there's no conflict of interest, so that you can then have a plan. I think there should always be a plan that, okay, I still want to work for maybe 3 more years, 5 more years, but you have a plan of the next step. I think that's good. So another thing, a lot of people that have come to me for mentorship and all that, they've already started the business, but it's just not growing. What is the problem, Kofo? This just not, I want it to come from you as well. Why am I stagnant? Why is the business not growing?
Yeah, you see, a lot of us, when a business goes beyond the product you're doing, like my vision was not to be the best smart card manufacturing plant. That wasn't my vision. My vision was to be the leading, digital solutions provider. So I was thinking digital beyond cards. Okay? So one is, a lot of entrepreneurs don't know their market very well.
Absolutely.
And so their disruption radar is not sharp enough. It's not sharp enough, okay? So you need to sharpen your disruption radar. You need to know your market, not only your local market, the international market. What are other countries doing that is better than what we are doing? Because eventually Africa will get there, okay? So you need to, your disruption radar of the market needs to be sharpened, okay? Why am I not doing well? Is what I'm doing not adding enough impact or value? Because if it is adding value, it will do well. And that's why I always say, think of value first before profit or money. Money will always follow. Money will follow. Okay. So if you're not doing well, you need to look at your business again. Go back to your business plan. Go back to the original vision. Look at it. Go back to all the risk that you itemize. Did you do your risk assessment properly? I remember when I wanted to backward integrate, my board did not give me permission to do it, because they said to me, you want to make the cards here locally? Okay, prove to us that you'll be cheaper than if we import it from China. Because your cost of production is more expensive than the cost of production in China or in other countries. They don't have power issues like we do. So I had to go through that cycle and that thought process. Go back to your original vision. You may need to tweak it. Strategies change, vision will change. Please don't beat yourself, and don't beat yourself if it doesn't work. Don't beat yourself. You might see that you're changing and you're doing something else apart from that. I make cards, but yet I've set up a company that will disrupt me, that will come up with digital cards. So be very honest and brutal with your vision. Don't be too, it must be this, it must be this. What does the market want? Your local market, and know your international market as well. So I think go back to your vision. Don't give up again, and look at your risk. Yeah.
So looking at your risk, going back, I think innovating, as you mentioned, you also mentioned structure at some point in time that you know of your, because somebody also would like to know the internal workings. What you know, a little bit about what happens internally in your company, your organizational design, kind of, you know, those things, your operational processes, all those things, because you might know your stuff, but I see a lot of people, that's what happens. They kind of know what they want to do, but they don't know how to do it. So you have a vision, but you just don't know how to structure your company properly so that it's effective and you're able to achieve your goal. So that's one. And then number two, you mentioned your board now. Yesterday also we talked about a board. And another question I'd seen on the chat, how did you fund all this? Do you have equity partners, you know, and all that? Can you just speak to that, please?
So when I started my first company, it was me, myself, and I.
Okay.
And I said to myself, okay, when I had a dream for SecureID, I said, oh, this is big. But I want to build an institution. To be honest, the banks were ready to give me all the debts. Why were they ready to give me? Because there was a proven track record.
Absolutely.
Banks always look at what you've done before. So with the first company, there was a proven track record. I know the banks were my clients, so I had all my audited reports and so on. So there was a bit more confidence for them to give me more debt. All right. But I had to say to myself that, no, I want to build an institution. I don't want it to be all about me, myself, and I. So I want investors, but not just investors with deep pockets. I want investors that share the same value as I do. I want investors that are patient and have long-term mindsets, like I did. Investors that will share with that vision. And I said, so I would take some debt, and I would also call in some investors to bring in equity, of course, with my own personal equity as well, you know. So I wanted to build an institution, and it's only an institution that can outlive you, you know. You've also got to know that you're not good at everything. I'm not good at everything, you know. So I bring in experts that know more than I do, okay? I cannot be the CFO, you know, I just can't. I cannot be the one operating the machine. They know more than I do, okay? So I bring in experts as well that will complement my own strength, you know. And I did that also at the board, brought in consultants, brought in people that, you know, I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary, I dream, I want this, I want this, and I want it fast. You know, that sort of thing. Then the board says, calm down, calm down, calm down, you know. So they're able to say, what if, what if, what if? So I want people that will challenge my vision as well. So the driver for me was to move from a self company, me, myself, and I, to building an institution, okay, that consists of different stakeholders and so on. You know, this company could be.
So you're able to attract finance.
Yes.
You're able to attract them.
Yeah. So in terms of attracting finance, as I said, the proven track record, writing your business plan helped in bringing in the debt. The equity is people that know you. That's why whatever you do well, because people are watching. So by the time you go to them to say, Dr. Wani, come invest in this. My company, you know, she knows you, and she can, you know, tell you that, yes, I know you're diligent and I can back you, because people invest in you, not necessarily.
Beautiful, absolutely.
In who you are, in you.
Yeah.
So it's
Absolutely.
important.
Thank you so much, Kofo. Okay, somebody asked a question, but I'm going to, you've actually talked about that. The person was asking, what are current challenges for, to your business? And I think you've mentioned some of them. You talked about skills. You mentioned skills. You talked about the foreign exchange fluctuation
Yeah.
and all that. Is there any other key challenge that is affecting your business?
I'm in the technology business, so we're
Yeah.
always
Okay, and then
innovating.
skills, yeah, human
Yes,
resources, going
disruptions, yeah,
disruption.
cost
Okay.
of doing business, and
Yeah.
can you pass all that cost to your clients?
Mm,
So
mm,
that's all that margins, margins will be affected because the cost of doing business has gone up, you know.
mm, mm,
Also things like ethics, compromises,
mm,
times are hard, so people are compromising a lot. How do you get them to still stay within that integrity
mm,
window and
mm,
just be proud of being amongst or with a company that is doing
mm,
something.
mm,
So there are many headwinds, many
mm,
headwinds. Yeah,
mm, mm.
yeah.
A very last question. So, we talked about succession planning,
Yeah,
right? How do you retain? Because in succession planning, you're building a leadership pipeline, aren't you? So, as you
yeah.
said, it's cheaper to have people actually who have been with you, and then you groom them and they grow and you empower them. And apart from it being cheaper, they have bought into your vision instead of hiring at a very high level. And then that person has to now learn the culture, buy into the vision. How do you retain the people that are on your succession track? Do you give
Mm.
them equity? Do you franchise? What are your plans? Or if you've done it?
So there are many ways, there are many schemes that you can put in place. Uh,
Mm,
we usually do a long-term incentive plan. It's called LTIP, where you know, of course, and there's a very strong performance measurement
yeah.
scheme as well, where at the end of the year you get a bonus,
Mm,
your KPIs are clearly stated, you know what you're contributing to the company, and then there's a performance bonus being assigned to you. So you too want to work very hard. And then over and above that, there's a long-term incentive plan as well, and that's really for retention, where
yep.
you stay for 4 years. It's almost like share options, but it isn't share options. But if you stay for 4 years, so money is set aside for you on a yearly basis, and that is given to an asset management company. They invest it on the stock market for you, but you can't
Mm,
touch it until after a number of years. So for 4 years, so
mm.
you want to touch that money, so you stay,
Right.
so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
stay for 4 years,
Yeah.
and then you're able to take that money. You can
Right.
go and invest it in property or
Right.
in things, and it just keeps going up every year,
Right.
that fraction.
They add to the
Yeah.
amount.
So
Okay.
there are many ways. Some companies do stock options from the get-go.
Mm,
Some people would give a bit of equity in our fintech company and the digital company.
mm.
There's a lot of that LTIP and stock options that are in place
Okay.
for that as
Stock
well.
option.
So that's how you retain them.
Okay, so last question. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Last question. You were going to talk about a mistake you made, or Ed, we just want to know that you are not perfect.
Oh, I'm not.
Tell us
Ah.
about, I call this the redemption corner. Tell us about a mistake you made,
Yeah.
how it was resolved, and the lesson you learned from the mistake.
When your company is growing and scaling,
Mm,
there's the temptation to be focused more on the numbers as
mm,
opposed to being focused on people growth. So
mm,
you're focused
oh,
more on the company growth,
mm,
and you forget the people growth. And
mm,
all of a sudden you then find out that the people are not growing as the company is growing. So you find yourself stretched. Okay. So that is something that I have seen. The other mistake is for your succession plan, as I said, be intentional. Let your framework start from the entry level.
Absolutely.
So that you have more people in the pool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you grow them. Because if you're paying attention to the middle and executive band, they can, like what is happening today. I'm moving to Canada. I'm moving with my family and you've made all the investment and then you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
So those are some of the errors that and lessons as well.
Yeah. I love that because again, it ties into my passion of succession planning. What you've said really is that your corporate strategies, your organizational goals, and your succession planning goals, they can't be in silos. It's integrated. Whatever the goals you're trying to achieve, when you're employing staff, you are thinking of succession. Can this person take over, can this person take us to where we want to go with our vision? So it's that integration, and also ties into the development of the people. Because when you employ and you have all these goals, if you don't develop them, you're not going to be able to achieve your goals and you have nobody to succeed in the key roles. So it's just been amazing. Can I say in the chat some claps? And somebody said, don't let this session was not finish. Oh, can I see the claps? I'm just going to round up quickly with this closing slide. Can I keep the clap on? Keep it going. Keep it going. Kofo, it's just been an amazing time. Honestly, your humility, the passion, it's really very heartwarming. Thank you so much. Don't leave here. I just kind of to buttress what you've said. Why are we doing this? It is, as Mrs. Adikpetu yesterday, Tara, I'll talk about that in a few minutes. We just want to be able to show people how a lot of people wouldn't have the opportunity to come and meet with you one-on-one, but they've heard you today. I have a lot of people come to me and they're like, what do I do? And you can see it clearly because you have seen it done. You have gone through it. So just if you, just to round up, I showed this yesterday and I'll show it every day of the week. It is easier, as you said, the strategy you need to start. As difficult as it is to start anything, to maintain it, to scale it, it's another set of skills you need, strategies you need. So for everybody who has a business or who is leading somebody else's business, we must understand that it is not a walk in the park. It is, statistics have it that 21% of the companies fail. By past 5 years, 50% of companies are no more. Only about 5% survive the long run. And I just want to say SecureID and the one you had before then, that's about 30 years old, and all the people, Ms. Adekwetu's company, to the glory of God, my company, Tara's company, Mr. Okeri's company, who will be coming out, the Lord has helped us. And we're already amongst the 5%. And as you said, it is still work in progress. So we continue to use the strategies, we continue to learn and train, Structural issues really cause companies not to survive. When you haven't done your business plan, there's no risk assessment. You haven't done your market research. You don't have any strategic plans in place. You don't understand organizational design. Have you put structures in place, roles, different things, your systems and all those things, the internal workings of a company. So you can have the best of ideas, but if you do not structure those things, put those things in place, it will not stand. And from what you've said, everything you've learned and everything everybody will learn, I also, because of that, I've put some courses together. I've put this business for structuring your business for success. It's a masterclass. You can have a group of people. I also do one-on-one with people, please get in touch. You know, people like Kofo said, why do I do this? I have my businesses, but I love to train. I love to empower people. I love to work with people because we can know the what, the why, the how, step by step is something that's very important. So there's this course that I run, Structuring Your Business for Success. I have another one just for school owners because, as Kofo said, I'm a serial entrepreneur. So yeah, the other one, if you're in manufacturing, oil and gas, consulting, any industry. But for school owners, there's some peculiar things that we also look at. That's, you know, those things are key to success in running a school business. So there's that. And of course, my body knows my passion, succession management. Who's going to lead next? And I'm not talking about who's going to lead next as in the owner of the company alone. Who's going to lead next in the key roles in your organization? So reach out. I put the numbers there. Hopefully you're able to get it. If not, just email me or text me. I like to end with this. Is John Maxwell says, if you always do what you've always done, because some of us will listen as, oh, it was nice, but you do nothing. If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always gotten. If you want to arrive at a new destination, you simply need to take a new path. John Maxwell will say, a lot of people will hear these things, but they will do nothing, sadly. I hope that will not be our own situation. So tomorrow, we're going to have, once again, before I go to what we're doing tomorrow, Kofo, once again, I appreciate you. Thank you. Such an inspiration. You know, I tell you, you are my mentor. We talk about it all the time. Well done. I'm so proud of you. And tomorrow, by the grace of God, we're going to have another amazing time with my dear sister, Tara Fela Durotoye. A lot of us know her and we know what she's been able to achieve by the grace of God. And it's just going to be amazing. So please tell everybody, come on time. Let's have fun tomorrow. So I say thank you. Thank you to everyone. Thank you. I hope you've all been blessed. Can I see it in the chat if you've been blessed? The claps are so. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Kofo. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Invite your friends, family. Yeah. Invite your children. Yes, Yinka. I'm sure you're very proud of Kofo right now. Yinka Morgan. Yes. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Superb. I'm glad you've all enjoyed yourselves. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you, Kofo.
Yeah.
Appreciate you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right. Good, 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 good. Okay, bye everyone. Yes, you'll get the recording. Some people are asking. You get the recording. Yesterday on as well, you'll get the recording.